And welcome back to another episode of KC Campbell's Videocast. Of course, I'm KC Campbell from Great Lakes Post, and thank you for joining us again. And now I'm joined by Chelsea Athletic Director Brad Bush. And how's it going, Brad? How are you hanging? Are you hanging in there?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's strange because you work all day, but you never leave your bedroom or wherever you're posted up at. But it's going all right.
Um, well, first off, I know the athletic department's getting, I know that still no spring sports, winter sports are canceled, but the athletic department's still operating. What are you guys working on right
Well, a lot of things to be honest with you. I mean, we're still doing all of our fall and winter scheduling. Obviously, we're closing out our financial year. We're working a lot with coaches and athletes. So, I'm meeting with head coaches, with all of our assistant coaches. We've actually expanded some of our professional development things. Like we've got a book club now with our head coaches, which normally we'd never have an opportunity to do some things like that. Our head coaches are still working with their players in terms of things like leadership. We've got actually a couple book clubs going with our teams. Check-ins. We're trying to provide at-home optional workouts. So there's a lot of there's a lot more things going on than you might think. It's not normal by any means, but we're trying to do as many things as we need to get to work with our kids and keep our coaches ready. So when we do have an opportunity to come back, we're ready to roll.
now? The SEC, of course, came out with the new conference alignment. Ypsi communities going over to the red division, the white division. I mean, the red division
That's right.
for next year. And then in the following year, they go back, and then I think Lincoln and Dexter come
That's
over
right.
to there. What are
So
some?
the
Go ahead.
rationale behind that was Ypsilanti. We wanted to try to see if we could. This is voted on a couple years ago to have a year of balance, 7-7. Ypsilanti had some interest in doing that. Since then, they've declined in enrollment, and we put in place in our constitution that we would move to 6-8, 8 in the red, 6 in the white, which is the opposite of what we have now, based on enrollment. Some of that was in response to our smallest schools and looking at some of the disparity in scores and results. But when we, obviously this year when the enrollment came out, that was Dexter and Lincoln were the two largest schools, so they moved to the red in what would be the 21-22 school year. That'll be evaluated every 2 years because obviously enrollments change and those types of things. So it's not perfect, but it does hopefully create a system where we're truly evaluating the enrollment of the schools and trying to make that into a situation that's best for teams. Having 7-7, having an odd number of teams makes it difficult sometimes to schedule things because there's a bye built into every schedule. So that's why we chose to go with 6-8.
Now, I also heard that Ypsi Lincoln's going to the red division in basketball starting in boys and girls basketball starting this coming school year. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
That is correct. And that was really a reflection of they were already going anyway. They were already moving into that division, and it gave us an opportunity to provide them with a few more non-conference games. And there was some desire on their part to go to the red, but in basketball. And obviously, we're talking about boys and girls, not just boys, which obviously their boys program is a high-profile program right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the fact that they were already moving in that direction, it just made sense.
Yeah. Now, when Dexter moves to the other side next year, I know Mike Babineau, I think, talked with M Live and said they wouldn't have any effect on the Dexter Chelsea rivalry.
That's right.
I don't think it will it?
Well, it'll have the effect in the sense that we've had some games in many sports that really, like I think of girls basketball this year, that if we'd have won, we would have won the league outright. By beating us, we share the league title. So the league title won't be on the line anymore. These will be non-league games because we're not crossing over with each other from a league perspective because they're going to be in the red. So from that standpoint, it's not the same. But having said that, we will play them in everything. I mean, we have no plans to not try to find a way to play Dexter in everything. Um, it just won't have the league title potentially being on the line. Having said that, who knows what happens with enrollment? I mean, there could be a time in the future when they come back to the white. Now, the reality is that the disparity in enrollment is getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. We are at our lowest enrollment point and close to, I'd have to go back and look, but probably in 15 to 20 years is the lowest enrollment we've been. We were at 818 going into next year, and they're over 1,200. So they're a much larger school than we are, and that's why they've moved to the red in another year. But in the same sense, the rivalry is too important for both schools to not have that happen. So for the foreseeable future, that's the game plan.
Now, have you? I know there with your vacancy with girls basketball. Of course, Tom Bloomquist stepped down at the end of this season. What's the update on that?
Well, we obviously, if the world was an ideal situation, we probably would have been close to hiring a coach right now. We made a decision as a school district to not post any jobs really it was close to a month because of our focus was on trying to provide instruction and support for our kids during this time until we got things kind of let the dust settle. Now, that job is posted right now. So we are taking applicants right now. And my goal would be mid-May-ish to have a new head coach in place. Obviously, usually at this time of year, the big push to have a basketball coach in place is because you have summer basketball and do you have to plan for it? That's obviously up in the air. I hope that we have some basketball this summer, but can't really speak to that if that's going to be the case. So the need and the immediacy to have a basketball coach in place is not the same as it would have been if we were physically in school right now.
And you just hired a boys soccer coach not too long ago.
We did. Mario Zuniga. He is, I think he's going to do a great job. He's the head of our coaching for the Chelsea Soccer Club. He's also the girls soccer coach at Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard. So he's very familiar with our community, very familiar with our kids. So we're excited to have him on board.
Yeah. Have you gotten a chance to talk to a lot of the kids since the shutdown happened, and how are they feeling about it?
Well, I have and I haven't. I've talked to some. I would say our head coaches have really been more in touch with their kids, and then I've been in touch with our coaches a lot. You feel for a kid who lost their spring season, who's a senior. And then I start to think about, like, okay, prom, graduation, all of the, we have a lot of great traditions in Chelsea, our cum laude banquet, and all these things that are so really central to what living as a senior is all about. So I feel for them, but most of them kind of understand. I mean, I think that they really do understand what's going on. They're bummed out about it, but yet they're handling it pretty well. And then I've also had some conversation with a few kids that are going to be seniors. And I think there's a level of anxiety of, okay, I want to make sure I have a fall season. And I can think of, I think of a kid like Joe Taylor, who's a great football player. The thought of losing baseball and then football on top of it, or, you can put any kid or combination. It just so happens that his dad is a coach, so I'm a little closer to them. You don't even want to consider that as a possibility. So we have to see. We're a long ways from any of those decisions being made, but all we can do is really support them. And our kids have been really good about being resilient and following the rules and trying to do the right thing so that hopefully we get back to some normalcy.
Yeah, I talked with the MHSA last week. Do you have any direction from them regarding whether or not, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens?
Right. We've had some conversations, and not just in my role as athletic director, but in my role with the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association. We've had conversations. I think the answer is that no decision is going to be made until we get into mid to late June. And I think that's the same tack that the NCAA is going to have. The difference is the NCAA has to look at the country, whereas the MHSA just needs to look at Michigan. Those could be two separate things. You could be having an issue somewhere else in the country. Things could get better here. The MHSA is going to do everything they can to have, seasons and sports and to do it. But to make a decision now, there's just no way to do it. I can tell you that Mark Ewell and that leadership is looking at a lot of options, but I don't think that, and there's been no decision made on, if we can't have a fall, what do we do? I mean, they're talking about it, but I think that it's too premature to have any kind of plan in place.
I know they just announced the division pairings. Of course, this is a new playoff system for football this year. You're in Division III. Are you surprised about where you are, or just about right, you think?
Well, we were the last in 2015 when we went to Ford Field. We were the last team in Division III, the smallest.
Right.
Then in 2018, we went to Ford Field. We were the biggest team in Division IV. So we've been on both sides of it. We've been on that line for years, with a shrinking enrollment across the state, combined with more in small schools out there. We felt like we'd be right on the line, and that's right where we were. We were right on the line. We're like 9 students from Division IV. We're in Division III, and I think it's the toughest division in football. You've got some of the real powers in the state, but I wasn't surprised. I thought there was a chance we could be in Division IV, but schools are just they're shrinking, and so in enrollment. So because of that, even though we've shrunk considerably, we kind of match up right where we thought we might be, at the bottom of Division III.
Yeah. And the thing is, with all this, I know you've been in the online school with that. How is that going? And are you having those conversations with the superintendent and all that? Are you involved?
Oh yeah. I mean, I carry it with, in addition to being the athletic director, I'm also assistant principal. So I've been in not all, but most of the planning of this. And I think really, a school like ours, we were fairly prepared. Most of our classrooms already were on either Google Classroom or PowerSchool Learning, which are 2 online platforms. We had a plan in place for students that don't have access to online or internet. And so we just, we had to kind of put the pedal to the metal and really work hard to get everything in place. And now this week is the first week when we truly are delivering instruction that way. It's not ideal. And I can tell you that I've always firmly believed that, online learning is okay, but it does not match the face-to-face in the classroom kinds of things. And I think this is a great example of that. But we want to keep kids engaged and keep kids learning, and also make sure the kids know that we support them and care about them, and we're here to help them through this time.
Yeah. I think that's all I got for you, Brad. Thank you so much. And obviously we'll have discussion. Obviously things could change towards the end of the summer, so we'll probably have you back.
Yeah, and I think they will, and I don't think it'll be normal. But I have a very good feeling that however it shakes out, that we're gonna have our athletic teams and seasons this year. It may look different. It may be certainly a different summer than we're used to. But I think that there's some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of us having those seasons.
Okay. All right, Brad. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Enjoy and stay safe and hang in there.
You too. Okay.